Josh, I wanted to make a fun background. I said like 1 more year with balloons, but it just didn't happen. So use your imagination.
Mr. President.
Yeah, put the names down. So,
It's a little Brody. We're just going to give a couple of minutes for everyone to roll in. So be patient, wave at your friends.
Can we get some intro music or some, I don't know, talking topics?
I know. So David, as much as I love your nameplate, we do have to ask everyone to type their name in to identify them. We don't know that you're not some, you know.
You're no fun.
My rule people tell me that's what we got to do.
I love it though, David. It was great. Everyone should sign up.
Trying to help.
Yes, you should both type your name in the chat for attendance and then go sign up for the YI Fun Fest.
Can we put the link in the chat at Josh Rosenthal? The link to sign up for the
I'll do that in 1 second to sign up for the carnival.
yeah.
Why don't we do it after everyone's done typing names and then
I'll do that in a second.
and then again when we talk about it.
Then they have no excuse.
I know there's a lot of excitement about this general membership meeting because we had several people log on last night trying to get a preview. So I hope we can live up to expectations.
I thought they were getting in line early, like the old days when you used to shop for things. You had to stand in line or concert tickets.
Yeah. This is bigger than like the second or third Star Wars prequel. Not the first one, that was more people.
In the old days, we got more than 5 non-board members to come. It was a victory. So this is great.
Well, something we've all talked about is things that we learned from the pandemic that were good, and having this meeting be broadcast on Zoom really does help with participation. It's easier for people, and we get a lot more. So I think it's a good all around. All right. I don't want to waste anybody's time. We have a full agenda. So I'm going to kick things off. Hi, I'm Michael Gerber. I'm the president of Young Israel of Sharon. You may not know that because maybe you haven't seen me in the last year, but amazingly enough, I've been doing this for almost 12 months. It seems like much longer, but that's okay. The whole world has been very interesting. I do have to say though, this is our May membership meeting, and by our bylaws, we have to have a meeting in May and then we have a meeting in June. The May meeting is focused essentially on electing a new board that will then prepare a budget that we will present in the June meeting. But we're also going to have other updates, as you hopefully saw on the agenda. And to start things off, I'm going to ask Rabbi Cheses to say a few words and offer the Dvar Torah.
Thank you, Michael, our fearless president. So good evening to all, Erev Tov. It has been really exciting over the last few days to be part of our gradual move towards normalization. Just this past Shabbat, just this upcoming Shabbat, we're going to be returning to Shabbat morning groups for our kids. We started singing Vishamru V'nei Yisrael Ta Shabbat as we usher in Shabbat on Friday nights. I just finished learning with Tani Weinberg, who is going to be celebrating his bar mitzvah in a few weeks. And we didn't have to spend too much time talking about how to give a Dvar Torah through a mask because he'll be speaking outdoors. In fact, this past Shabbat, I shared the first Dvar Torah since February without a mask. Some people were a bit upset that it was so loud that it made it harder for them to take their nap. But we'll put that aside. So as we know, these changes are a result of higher vaccination rates in our community. And last night, our president, who has kept a steady hand throughout this tumultuous year, noted the difference between change and transition. Said that change is something external, it happens to us. It's when we reach herd immunity for our purposes. Whereas transition is something internal. It's what happens inside people's minds when they are presented with change. So change is relatively easy, even though we sometimes say that it is hard. But it's really transition, the psychological sort of habit changing work, which is the difficult, deep work. And I've observed that some of our I've observed during this time of transition, as we are confronted with changes and needing to unlearn certain habits and resume certain ways of communal living, that some of our communal skills have atrophied from disuse. And one of those is how we talk and give feedback to one another on things that are going on specifically with the shul. So I wanted to just elevate for you an approach that Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, takes to the very end of Parshat Behalotcha, which underscores one of these communal skills that all of us could use a little brushing up on. The narrative is one we're familiar with about the Lashon Hara that Miriam speaks about Moshe. The text is ambiguous about what exactly that was the nature of the wrongdoing. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs suggests that we can see what went wrong from the first 4 words of the narrative, Vatidaber Miriam v'Aharon b'Moshe, that Miriam had a conflict with her little brother Moshe, and instead of going directly to Moshe about it, who did she go to? She went to Aaron instead. This is what we call triangulation. When there is a dynamic that needs to be addressed between 2 individuals, some feedback or some criticism that needs to be offered to try and tweak something going on. And instead of going directly to the person, a third party is brought in, which creates a second conflict. And the lesson from this narrative is that we need to deal directly with people when we have issues. The people who are in the positions of influence to make the right changes based on the feedback should be the ones that are addressed first. And so as we pilot back some new old kinds of ways of doing things, as Michael said, we're going to take the best from this last phase, but also we're not going to ignore or forget some of the good things that we had going before this whole storm struck us. And we're going to blend together some of the old and some of the new, and it's going to require some tweaking, and it's going to require some ironing out of the kinks. And I invite us all to take lesson from Miriam in directing our helpful input directly to the people who need to hear it, and not creating more machloket or more communal conversation, which complicates and creates more of a problem than a solution. And so with that gentle reminder of something we all already know, I will turn the virtual mic back to our president.
Thank you, Rabbi. Yasher koach. Okay, I'm going to put up some slides because meetings are more fun with slides. Welcome to the general membership meeting again. This is the agenda for tonight. We've already ticked off the first box. Very efficient. Thank you, Rabbi. Tonight we'll be hearing a financial report from our treasurer, Mike Ravid, as well as a little bit of an update on things that have been going on around the building. We'll have our election, as I said before, and we'll have a special update on the upcoming fundraiser on June the 6th to get everybody excited for what looks to be the most exciting event in the history of mankind. I may be exaggerating a smidge, but it's close. It's like right below when the last time the Steelers won the Super Bowl. Oh. And finally, we'll have an update on our COVID procedures. There's a lot going on. Things are changing in a hurry. And I assume that folks have questions, so we'll walk through what we're doing and then we can talk. And finally, as always, there'll be an opportunity for anyone to ask questions. I suspect in a forum like this, it's probably easier to put questions in the chat rather than try to talk over us. But anytime if you have a question, just drop it in the chat and we'll make sure we address anybody's concerns. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to call on our treasurer to tell us how we did this year.
All right, thank you, Michael, and good evening to everyone. And I assure you, a lifelong Patriot fan is speaking again, and one who remembers the good old days in the early 80s when there were a lot of 2-14, 3-13 teams, and you had to listen on the radio. But in the interest of time, I'll stop reminiscing about listening to Patriot games on the radio and give the financial update. So I am going to take you a little bit, though, into the past, just because I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we've done against the budget. And next month, as Michael mentioned, we'll be talking about next year's budget. But before we can talk about how we did, I just need to very briefly just take you back about a year ago and just kind of remind everyone that when we did the budget a year ago, it was kind of May, June 2020. The environment was very different. We were still in the midst of a public health kind of crisis event. We also did not have any vaccines on the horizon, and we had to make certain assumptions based on the information on hand at the time in terms of sort of just our best guess estimate of how things would unfold and trying to be realistic just in terms of income and expenses based on that time. So very, very thankfully, first of all, I want to thank Sandy for her help kind of getting me the information for this. And then also I want to be very thankful and express that while there absolutely are many people who are impacted either health, financially, etc., by COVID, as a community, the community was actually very generous and far more generous and able to support the show in really amazing ways financially beyond that which we predicted a year or so ago. So Michael, if you are in control, if you can flip to the next slide, that would be awesome. And basically overall, it's thankfully a pretty good story, which we absolutely did not think would be the case a year ago. On the income side, we are on track to exceed the income that we budgeted, and it's really for a few reasons across the board. Again, thankfully, our expectations in terms of dues were pretty far off, and generally people were able to pay their dues, and as a result, dues are higher than projected. Likewise, we really experienced a lot of generosity with donations that far exceeded that which was budgeted, and then also high holiday, both seats and the appeal income came in higher than had been budgeted. I also did just want to highlight the PPP income, even though that is something that we budgeted. That was when we budgeted, we thought it'd be a one-time event. It ended up being kind of a two-time event. Stay tuned for part 2 next month. But we received $40,000 approximately that again were budgeted, but did kind of help the overall bottom line and the income side. If we then can go on to the next slide, we can talk about expenses a little bit. A lot of the expenses overall were lower than had been budgeted, and that was really a function, no surprise, of just that which was open in terms of events. Again, we were able to do a lot of wonderful events and different things over Zoom and otherwise, but the cost of having those events is very different than what had been budgeted for some type of in-person events. We'll go over in a little bit more detail later, but unfortunately there are a lot of building related expenses, and those exceeded the budget, and that is something stay tuned for next month. We'll talk about a little bit more looking forward in terms of the budget going forward. And then also salary expenses ended up slightly higher than budgeted, related to some pension related adjustments, and then additional office and custodial help related to COVID cleaning and things like that. If we can move along to the next slide, please. We're actually going to come back to that one after, so if we can jump to the next one. Kind of the overall takeaways again were the income was higher than projected, as discussed, really across the board, looking at donations, dues, high holidays coming in all higher than expected. As I just went over, the expenses were generally lower than projected, really, other than the building related expenses. The cash position, both in terms of the operating account, is in pretty good shape, really, again, helping two big things helping with that are the initial first draw of the PPP, and then even though given the timing related to just forgiveness and other variables, the income will be realized in next year's budget. We already have the cash on hand, so I just wanted to really highlight that in terms of the PPP income making a really, really big difference. So again, a much better story than kind of what we thought we'd be looking at a year ago in terms of the budget. We're going to have to continue to stay on top of it, and we'll be over the next month or so working on next year's budget to be able to present that at next month's meeting. Does it make sense to, if Moshe's on, maybe he can go back to the slide before and talk a little bit about the building related expenses. Basically, as you can see, we ended up spending about $20,000 more than had been anticipated just for some building related expenses. And you can go over that in a little bit more detail and kind of the plan for the building going forward as well.
Yep. So starting off, I guess beginning of the year, we did a lot of airflow for COVID to make it safe for both the school and for the shul. We worked heavily with Cheses to upgrade the HVAC systems and also upgrade just the general airflow throughout the building to make it a much more safer place to be in. We also the driveway from the kitchen to the street, I think 4 people had popped tires over there, and it got in really bad. It was like down to the dirt. So we repaved that entire area. We also added gutters throughout the back to kind of help with the drainage issue and the mold and mildew that was occurring. We are replacing 3 doors that are 3 exterior doors that are currently in dire need of replacement. One of the big things we did was we did do a building inspection. We spent about 6 hours at the shul with someone who thoroughly went through the entire building, the attic, exterior also, and pulled together this 80-page report of everything that is wrong with the building so that we can kind of just start, making a list to preemptively fix things so that we don't, run into, having to replace new doors or fixing the driveway all in the same year. There's a lot of small things that we can kind of just do now to fix just to, save us money in the long run. And I'm going to be working with Dan Ronkin. He's going to be taking over. And, I think the plan is mainly over the summer to kind of work on getting contractors in to kind of look at the work that we need done and to start fixing it up. That is all I had.
Thank you, Moshe. And thank you, Mike. I'm going to pause here and see if anyone had a specific question about our financial situation, which, as Mike said, was I don't want to say a pleasant surprise, but went much better than we anticipated a year ago. So it's a credit to our community, either that we were somewhat lucky during COVID, but also that our community saw the value in supporting the shul and supporting our institutions. And we thank you for sticking with us. And I hope that you saw young Israel doing its best to serve the community during this time. Is there anything in the chat? Okay, if not, I'm going to move on to the next item, which is election of officers. And I want to continue the thought I just had. Before we start talking about the next board, I want to talk about this board. Quite a few people would come up to me and say, wow, it must be hard to be president during the pandemic. I said, yeah, I guess so. But the truth is, it's easy because I had the most amazing group of people to work with me and to work for us and work for the community. And this board was just fantastic. It's a board full of doers. It's a board for the people who are willing to stretch. And I think I said this back in December, every single board position had to reinvent their job this year. There wasn't a single position I think that was normal, that was the same as would be in a normal year. And everyone stepped up and starting as soon as we got going, with the in everyone's mind was the thought, how do we continue to service the mission of Young Israel and serve the needs of our community at this time? And I think everyone did that, and it was just an amazing. I think it came out as well as we could have expected. I also want to say thank you to. We have to say goodbye to a few folks. For some reason, not everybody wanted to stay on for next year. And I want to personally thank all those who have given time that are stepping away. So for example, Sarah Poltman was our first ever director of volunteers, which was sort of a thing we did this year because of the pandemic, because it's hard when you don't see people. How do you recruit folks? And Sarah knows everybody. And so she did a wonderful job of getting us help when we needed it for all sorts of different things. I'll do these together. The only word that I have for Kayla and Debbie is that the two of them are rock stars. The best thing that we did this year, I think, in my opinion, was programming, and it was innovative and it was different, and we kept people engaged from the Wednesday night food to the drive-in movies to everything else, into the fundraiser that you'll hear about later. Kayla and Debbie recruited a great team of people, and them and their committee put on some really, really remarkable events. A lot of things that were remote when we had to be, things outside, how we did the barbecue last year, everything. I can't say enough, and I'm really sorry to see them go. Kayla had to move to another continent to get off the board, but they just did a great job. I want to thank, you just heard all the work that happens in the building. Zach and Moshe sort of tag teams this year on the house work. There was a lot that we had to do, both related to COVID, and this was also the year that everything broke. A couple of air conditioners went down, unrelated to what we were doing otherwise, and you heard everything else that they did. And they've really set us up in a great position to have a maintenance plan going forward. So kudos to them. I want to thank Ken Milgram. He was our first ever director of security, and stepped up at a time when this was a growing concern for us. And he helped us a lot in, I think was through some challenging times at the shul, and what we should do and how we should be doing it, and help set us up also for the future with our private security, and making sure that everybody stays safe. And finally, last but certainly not least, I want to thank Naomi, who I think has been on the board for at least 10 years and really was a role model for me, thrust into this role. And she's been a voice advocating for our community. And she's leaving us to do something even bigger. I was joking last night, it's like she left city council to go on the US Senate. So now she's on the board of National Council of Young Israel, representing not just our shul, but all shuls like our shul. And I'm sure she's going to do a wonderful job for that. And I keep joking with her that, maybe she's out this year, but we'll rope her back in, I'm sure. So thank you to all of those who are going. Thank you to everyone who's staying. And with that long preamble, this is our slate for 2021-2022. I'm going to ask Josh, if you could put the link to the voting site in the chat. Oh, look, it already happened. I didn't have to say it. Thank you. And I want to point out, because I had a few questions, so I'm going to point out two features of the slate. First of all, I'm really excited to have all the folks who are coming back from this year, and we have some fresh faces. We have some young folks. We have some people who are new to the community with some hopefully different perspectives and new ideas. I do want to point out we still have one hole that I'm working to fill. That's I intend to fill this for publicity and marketing. I just didn't get a yes this week, but we're still recruiting. And I'll be honest, I want to tell everybody, to tell your friends, what I'm hoping publicity and marketing can do this year is to help us work on our communications plan. We've done some experiments this year with playing with the announcements and getting on WhatsApp, and some of it is working and some of it isn't, but it's a bigger job. And if there's anyone who's really passionate about that, please private message me, and we'd happy to have your help. And then I want to point out the Shas liaison role here is listed as purposely vacant. We are not going to fill this role. Zach Homa did this job the previous year, and he's transitioned onto Director of Inclusion, which, as an aside, he's taken on the weighty task of making sure that everyone is comfortable and feels comfortable reintegrating into shul as the pandemic slowly closes off over the next 6 to 12 months. So we thank Zach in advance for that. But in case you're wondering why we're leaving this vacant, basically, over the last few years, the relationship between Shas and Young Israel has been pretty good and getting better. We are symbiotic organizations. We work well together. And this year, especially when we had so much happen in the building that we had to take care of, whether it was with ventilation or maintenance or other things, we found that the respective presidents, treasurers, and heads of house worked really well together. And basically that team, which is sort of the ASR executive board of the folks from YI and Shas, was able to do everything well and functioned very, very smoothly together. And both organizations independently made a decision to transition their liaison person into a different role that they could have potentially more impact. And I spoke to Jody about this, and we thought we're going to try this for a year, doing without, and I think it's a good idea, and we'll see how it goes. And we'll reassess next year.
If I can take the floor for just a sec.
Sure.
And if we can clear off the annotations.
Wow, how did that happen?
I believe I saw Josh Fistel, if you want to clear those. But in any case, if there's a link in the chat for people to vote. If you have any issue, in order to vote, you're going to need to be logged into the Shul's website. There's instructions on that page that say how to do that. And if you have any questions or are unable to do that, you can either chat me in this in the Zoom chat, and I can try to help you get logged on, or you can text or call. Thank you, Michael. As you see there's instructions about logging in if you're not logged in, but if you are logged in, you will see something like, if you want to scroll down for just a sec.
What am I showing?
Just show the form. What?
Okay.
Oh, you're showing the form right now. Yes.
I'm showing. So, that's why I was just checking. It's hard to tell with Zoom.
Yeah.
Oh, I lost it. Okay.
And we will leave voting open for a little bit. I don't know how long you want to, Michael. But
well, let's everyone. Let's just take. I'm gonna maybe do balloon animals for 30 seconds, and we'll leave it open for the next I don't know, half an hour. Whatever. Is that enough? While we go on to the next topic, is that fair?
Sounds good.
And I encourage everyone to please vote for the slate.
And if you're having issues with the website, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I'm not entirely sure how I managed to share the form. I did it by accident, but it worked out. All right, I just voted. So thank you everyone for doing that. This is another wonderful innovation, thanks to COVID, that we could do votes remotely. This wasn't legal until this year. All right, and we're back. I'd like to now call on Kayla to please talk about our fundraiser coming up June 6th.
Hey, everybody. How are you? I know you're still voting. I first want to say thank you for having me on the board. Thank you to Michael for being our fearless president, and the rabbi for always guiding us. Debbie has done so much for this carnival and for this whole year. And I have been moving my family to Israel. So I'm not as, I want you all to know that Debbie deserves a lot of credit for this. So you guys, June 6th is going to be amazing. 10 a.m. We want everyone to sign up to run, bike, walk, bring your dogs, bring your kids. That is basically, this whole day is designed for you guys all to have fun and for us all to get together. For one of the first times in a long time. This is in lieu of the dinner. So, and an ad book. So just please keep that in mind when you are, trying to figure out how you can make it work. We are not having a dinner. In the chat, Debbie just posted the Google Doc to sign up for the fun run. So basically you sign up for the run and we have a 5K route. There's no police detail as of right now. So you just kind of run at your own risk. And we are doing a sort of like an Olympic style award ceremony. And then the carnival will start. The run will end at the Shoals driveway, and then we start the carnival. There is going to be, oh wait, so do we have the next thing for the carnival? Yep. So we have tons of food options, drink options for everybody. Thank you to Frida for helping us with the food. We're doing chili dogs, sausage and peppers and onions and everything you can want. Beer, and then we have lots of different games, and we specifically chose games that are geared to toward all ages. Okay, so we really wanted everyone to have a good time, and I think you will. So please come. What we are doing for Make It Extra Fun, and don't go to the next slide yet, Debbie, but we're doing Make It Extra Fun. Sorry, that's my baby. If you can hear that, I don't know if you can. If you sign up to sponsor with us, to partner with us for this carnival, we've already had so many people being a big macher. They get some swag to wear at the event, and they get 4 free passes, and we name one of the events after you. So for example, we have this humongous inflatable machine. It's a Terminator machine, and it's sponsored by Tova's Catering. I mean, it's amazing. It's going to be great. And so we just want to say thank you. The whole community is partnering with us and doing what needs to be done so that we can all have an amazing day. And then we are revealing right now, something really exciting for everybody. Opportunities to dunk your favorite people in the dunk tank. I do want you to know, I was going to go to the next slide. Debbie wants you to know that we have to announce a rain date, but it's not going to rain. Hashem is in charge. Debbie, next slide, please. Or Michael, whoever's doing next slide. Oh, who we gonna dunk? Okay, so the way it's gonna work is we have a form in the chat. I think Debbie just sent it.
It'll take me a minute to get the form. Give me 1 minute. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so the form, let me explain the form. You're gonna fill out the form, and it's gonna say your name, if you are willing to be dunked, and who you've been aching to dunk. Who do you want to dunk? We gave you some options. You don't have to choose those options. Those are great options, just FYI. Now, we are going to pick the top 3 requested dunkies. Okay, so let's just say it's Michael Gerber is the #1 person. Everyone wants to dunk Michael Gerber. Okay,
Or Kayla.
Let's just say.
Or Kayla.
Or me. Whoever you want to dunk, whoever it is.
Vote for Michael.
We are going to
Vote for Michael.
First, we're trying to, hold on. We're trying to make everyone comfortable, okay? So if you get chosen as everyone wants to dunk you, okay? We are going to ask you, hey, Dan Shimshak, do you want to be dunked? Are you okay to being dunked? And then you would have to respond yes or no.
And
You
then
say
who
no,
do
we
you
move on
want
to
to dunk?
And then we do that. Okay, you're getting it. You're getting it. Now, who does the dunking? Rabbi Cheses is on the chair. Who gets to do the dunking? Once you find out the top 3 donkeys, we are going to have a lottery at the carnival and pull a name out of the hat. You want to be in that lottery? $18 to dunk Rabbi Cheses. You be there. Don't miss it.
A
It's gonna
live
be
lottery.
awesome.
Everyone shows up 1:45. See who's going to dunk Rabbi Cheses,
Who's gonna dunk him?
or Michael, or Kayla.
Or Danny, or Debbie.
Not me.
Just for the record here, I was given a choice. Either I skydive or I get dunked. So Sarah made this choice.
You've chosen wisely.
I hope you all have a good time. I hope you all know that this is all in good fun. As the rabbi was discussing, this year has been wonderful in a lot of ways, but really, really hard on a lot of people. And we just want to get everyone together and have a good time. So it's all in good fun, and there's, just everyone keep in good spirits, and please sign up and join us. It's going to be an amazing day. Debbie, did I miss anything? Did you want to
Nope,
say
that's
something?
it. Please just sign up. We're working really hard to make it fun, like you said.
And publicly, thank you, Debbie. You're a rock star. Amazing to work with you.
And ditto, back to you. Thank you.
Wow,
Okay, we're signing off.
Thank you both so much. I am so pumped. I can't tell everyone how pumped I am for this. I don't know if you can see my face. I have no idea how this Zoom is working, but I can't imagine
Your
anything
face on
better
the-
than to stand around with my friends drinking beer. They didn't mention it's a beer truck. Everything's on tap. Like we have kegs. This is high level. So stand around drinking beer. Maybe I'll go for a swim. We'll see.
I have a question that just came in
Okay.
about the route, and I do have a route, and I can actually maybe we should send it out. Didn't think of that. Should have done that.
We can email it out over the listserv, the route.
That's what we should do. That's
Sure,
what we should
we can
do.
do that.
Yeah, I have a route. It was made up by the town. Thanks for the question.
Hey, Kayla, this is Aryeh. Just a question, is it the same route for the walk and the bike, or are there the walk and the bike different things?
It's all the same route, right? All starting at the same time.
Yeah.
Ending at Young Israel, and then we do
Ending
the
at Young
voice
Israel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other questions I want you all to know, I challenged Kayla and Debbie back in November to come up with something that we could do outside and fun and be creative. And they exceeded expectations. This is going to be amazing. Every detail I see about this is just more fun. So
I want everyone to lower their expectations. let's just all like slow it down, and then it's going to be amazing, because then you're going to expect literally nothing. Okay. So
okay, expect
think
nothing
about-
and be surprised.
expect nothing. It's going to be like a little tinker toy and a bottle of booze in a brown bag.
Okay. This is going to be a really difficult transition. But you know what? This could be fun too. I'd like to call on our, I didn't note this on the slate we hopefully just elected. I don't know. I haven't checked yet. Avi Traum is going to stay on next year on the board to continue to be the lead on our medical advisory committee. This has been a very important mechanism for us and will continue to be important as things develop over the next few months. So we're happy to still have Avi to lead this effort. And thank you to him and to everyone on that committee and that team for getting us to where we are today. So without further ado, Avi.
All right, well, thank you very much. Let's jump into the slides, and we'll have a chance to chat about some of this as well. So where are we? So some of this is not going to be news, right? As you know, that the pandemic, thankfully, in our area seems to be on the wane. In the Globe this morning, every day there's a graph in there, and it shows just the numbers of new cases, the number of deaths are falling, the positivity rate is below 1% for the first time or second time in a very long time. So as a result, the various regulatory agencies have been providing updates for us. So as many of you know, the Center for Disease Control recently said that vaccinated individuals can be unmasked indoors in most situations, not all, but in most situations. Massachusetts has been updating its guidance. Some weeks ago, they stated that people who are unmasked you can be unmasked outdoors if distancing can be maintained. And effective this coming weekend, vaccinated individuals may be indoors in many environments. Again, not all, but many environments. So this is where we are with what some of the, let's call it government guidance has been giving us. Next slide, please. So we have a committee, as you've heard, we've met many times. We've had a lot of vigorous discussion, and we've tried to move forward in a thoughtful and cautious manner. And what are the considerations that have been our guideposts in this process? Well, the first and foremost is going to be safety. Obviously, anything we do, we want to make sure that we're not exposing our members to unnecessary risk. And as a result, any change that we've done has been met with a lot of discussion. Other things that are ongoing, obviously the vaccine has been around for some months, and since April 19th, it's been open season for anyone 16 and older. For the last 2 weeks, it's been open season for about 12 and older. Even before the April 19th date, many people were able to get vaccinated, and that number has increased. So it is our general sense that most of the 16 and older community is vaccinated, and many of the 12 to 15-year-olds are also starting to get vaccinated. Between conversations with your friends, pictures on Facebook, this is a wonderful thing that has allowed us to feel more comfortable and be able to sort of be together in various settings. Also in that vein, there are members of our community who are unvaccinated or under-vaccinated. By definition, anyone under 12 has not received a dose of vaccine unless they're participating in one of the studies that are ongoing. And there are studies ongoing for the 11 and under, and hopefully sometime in the fall, we may be able to have those children get vaccinated as well. Another population we need to think about is those who are immunocompromised, right? So if you get vaccinated and you're immunocompromised, your response to the vaccine is possibly not as good. There's an article in today's Globe that highlighted this. For those of us who get our medical information from other sources, there have been a number of studies coming out that show that people who are immunocompromised just don't respond as well. About half of patients who have transplants who have been vaccinated in one study showed that they just didn't mount any antibody response. I had a conversation yesterday, actually, with Reb Nosson Schaefer, who many of you know, who he told me I could share this with you, that he sent me an email and wanted to talk because he got antibody. They're in Israel now, and Chana had a kidney transplant years ago, and they got antibody tested, and he has robust immune response, and she has zero antibodies, undetectable antibodies. They were both vaccinated with Pfizer, and he's really worried about what he can do. Can he go back to the kollel and learn with people, and what sort of precautions can he take? And we had a long discussion about what sorts of things and what is his risk tolerance. And so there are people in our community who are immunocompromised for various reasons, mostly related to medication, and we have to be mindful of those individuals as well. That also gets us into what is the risk tolerance of our members. And I think that this is an important consideration in trying to understand what is the right way to move forward. One thing that I have learned, and when I say we have learned, because Michael and the rabbi are probably the greatest recipient of, let's call it, advice from the community about how we should be moving forward, is that we know what we hear in our echo chambers. So, we get everything from we should be burning our masks and opening everything up, to how can we possibly move forward in anything unmasked, because if one person has COVID, the whole thing is hefker. And so there is the whole spectrum of responses in between, and we are part of our process is to try and understand what is the risk tolerance of our members. And so this is this is not just about what is your risk of exposure, but what are you comfortable doing as we move forward in trying to relax some of our restrictions. Next slide, please. So what have we done so far? So as you saw in the email we sent out last week, effective this past Shabbos in the outdoor minyan, people may be unmasked during minyan. It was really nice to walk over to the sukkah minyan and see people sitting there, not walking around, sitting in their spaces, keeping their distances. And most people in the sukkah were unmasked. And it was, a little bit, I wouldn't say jarring necessarily, but it was a pleasant surprise. There were a few people who were wearing masks, and that is, I want to make the point, as I said in my email last week, that you may be unmasked. If you choose to be masked in the sukkah, that is certainly your right and permitted, and that is your personal preference. And again, this is what people are comfortable with, and we have to be thoughtful of that as we go forward. The second change that we enacted was that children are welcome back in shul if they can sit in shul. We want, part of our thought process here is that we want people to come back to shul, right? We've spent so much time saying the seating is limited and we want to keep distancing, but we also want people to come to shul, right? The only times where it's really been tight in shul, frankly, have been Pesach and Shavuos. So on any given Shabbos, there are seats available in shul. And we want not only our adult members, but our children to be back in shul as well. Now, we don't have groups going on in shul at this point, but this Shabbos, we are restarting children's groups that will be outdoors for, I believe, K through 4 in various groups. Is that correct, Rabbi? Yes, I'm getting a nod. Okay. So there will be groups in shul starting this Shabbos. The other thing that we've done, and that happened on Sunday, so it's effective immediately and will take effect, if you will, the Shabbos mostly, is that we've tried to adjust the distancing indoors. We made our distancing indoors with our labeled seats, if you will, for people to sit in. We initially made them 8 feet apart, and that was to take into account that 8 feet becomes 6 feet. People wander, people want to schmooze. But I think for the most part, we feel comfortable that based on the behavior of our members, we're going to move to 6 feet, which has allowed us to increase our seating at this point by 25% or so. And we're hoping that as we go forward, that we'll be able to perhaps tighten that distance a little bit and see how that moves forward as well. Next slide, please. What are some next steps? So I mentioned a survey in my email. We're going to be sending out a survey to the community, and Sharon Ravid has been helping to put this together. There are 2 goals of the survey. First is to get a sense of how vaccinated our membership really is. Again, I think we have a sense that we are highly vaccinated, but it's going to be helpful to get some numbers so we can really feel comfortable about any next steps that we do. And the other goal is to gauge the comfort level with various reopening scenarios. Are you comfortable with sitting in shul undistanced with vaccinated people who are unmasked, for example? Are you comfortable with your masked child sitting in shul near someone who's unmasked? These are the questions, and others you'll have an opportunity to answer. And this will give us a sense of where people are in terms of moving forward. One important change that we also made last night was to change the sign-up attestation. There were some things in there that were no longer applicable, such as, for example, it says you have to stay masked you agree to stay masked your entire time. Well, that's not necessarily the case, as we just said in our outdoor menu. We had initially put into place this idea of if you sign up, you agree to go to the whole block of things that you're signing up for. That was more appropriate for daily minyan, and that was more appropriate at a time when we started this, when we were trying to sort of cohort people and not have sort of a big mixing of people coming to this minyan or that minyan or whatever. We've really just moved away from that completely, and so we've removed that line entirely. And the point of this, and another important line, and this is based on feedback we got from you, our members, is that there were some people who felt like signing up meant that I say that I am definitely going to be there. And we understand that you wake up on Shabbos morning and your children suddenly may have changed their mind, because children never do that, let's say. But And so, we've changed the language to say, you're going to do your best to come, but like if you can't come for whatever reason, you don't have to feel tethered to Minyan that morning. The idea being that if you sign up to come, we want you to come. And if you can't in the end, don't feel like signing up should be what keeps you from coming to shul, right? Signing up takes 60 seconds. And at the same time, it doesn't take a lot of time to sign up, but the worry that you're somehow going to bail on your commitment to coming is keeping you from coming. That should not be the case. We want to make it easy for people to come to shul. So you're going to see changes to the sign-up attestation effective immediately. And then another change that is coming forward is Kiddush, right? We've had a few scenarios where we've had sort of grab and go type Kiddushes, right? We had a little bit of food at some of the Tikkun Leil. We had ice cream on the first day that people could pick up. We want to have an opportunity for people to do that again. It's not going to look like it did in February 2020, but we want to be able to do something that's going to sort of move us forward to being a little bit more in the direction of normalization. I think that's my last slide. So I'm happy to take questions. Happy might be a strong word, but here we go. While you're thinking of your questions, I also just want to thank the members of the committee who have really put a lot of hours of our reopening committee task force, whatever we've called ourselves, who've put in a lot of hours just in terms of meeting, discussing this, trying to be thoughtful about how we do this. And they have been an incredible support to try and move our shul forward. All right, so
Great. Thank you, Avi. If nobody has a specific question for Avi, I will ask Josh Rosenthal, do we have a board for next year? He's checking.
It's staying open another 5 minutes, but at this point, it's yes, we will.
All right, fantastic. And as we do at every one of these general membership meetings, we open it up. If anyone has something on their mind they'd like to ask, we will be meeting again in just a month to talk about the budget. So you don't have to be under any pressure.
Question about communal singing. We have been doing singing in shul. Yes.
I think we've been avoiding Pavarotti type singing, but more chill. I don't know what the term for it is. Anyone else have a worry, a concern? I want to thank you all for taking time out of your lives to come to this meeting and for being part of our community. And I look forward to seeing all of you in person. If not Shabbos morning, then certainly on June 6th.
I've been thought of vaccinated, only Minyan indoors. No. Sorry.
Are they just sending questions to you, Avi, and not to everyone?
Yeah, I'm getting all sorts of questions here.
Oh.
Well, thank you, Michael, so much for orchestrating a wonderful meeting, another record attendance, and wishing everyone Laila Tov.
And the board was voted in 30 yes, 0 no.
Ooh. I was sure one of our board members would vote no for themselves. That happens every year. It's usually Avi.
Too busy preparing a presentation. Okay, good night, everyone.